In 1979, a low-budget Australian action film roared onto the screen, reshaping the future of cinematic car chases and dystopian storytelling. Mad Max wasn't just a movie, it was a high-speed gamble powered by grit, creativity and raw determination. Behind the smoke and screeching tyres, a storm of wild improvisation, unexpected casting twists and near-impossible stunts unfolded. From backroom edits to record-breaking profits, this is some trivia that fueled its legend. Number 1. Zrínyi Accidental Hero. Sometimes destiny takes the wheel when you least expect it. Long before becoming an international star, Mel Gibson had no intention of auditioning for the role that would define his career. In fact, his only reason for visiting the casting call was to support his friend Danny Harris, who was trying out for a part. The night before, the two friends had been caught up in a barroom scuffle, leaving both with faces swollen and bruised. When the casting team saw them, they suggested they return in a few weeks for an entirely different reason. They were looking for rough-looking extras. By the time they came back, their injuries had healed, revealing Gibson's natural, youthful charisma. The filmmakers asked Max to read for the lead role of Mel Rokitansky. Harris got a role of biker number 13. Number 2, Doctor who turned director. Before the roar of engines and the chaos of stunt work, there was the calm precision of a medical professional. George Miller, co-writer and director of Mad Max, spent his early career in the emergency room, treating severe road accident victims. Those intense real-world encounters shaped the film's gritty tone, ensuring the on-screen action felt raw and authentic. Operating on a shoestring budget of roughly $400,000, Miller often found himself short on funds. To keep production alive, he worked weekend ER shifts, channeling his earnings directly into the movie. The routine was exhausting. Long hospital nights followed by equally demanding days on set, but it kept the project moving forward when it could have stalled completely. Number 3, paid in beer. When a film's budget is stretched to its limits, creativity becomes a form of currency. During the making of Mad Max, there was simply not enough money to pay every extra in cash. Instead, some background performers agreed to work for an unusual form of payment, slabs of beer. This arrangement was more than a cost-cutting measure. It reflected the scrappy, community-driven nature of the production. Many of those appearing in crowd scenes were friends, acquaintances, or local volunteers who were just excited to be part of something unique. For them, the beer wasn't just a reward, it was a story to share about their time on set. The decision might seem odd today. Number 4, prop theft artistry. Resourcefulness became a hallmark of the Mad Max production, and nowhere was it more apparent than in the work of the art department. With barely enough money for essentials, the team had to get creative when dressing sets. Instead of purchasing every sign, crate, or prop they needed, they quietly borrowed items from real stores and local businesses. The method was simple: take the items overnight and return them before anyone noticed they were missing. It was a move born out of necessity, but it gave Mad Max an authentic, lived-in look that couldn't have been faked with cheap imitations. The end result was a world that felt gritty, real, and just a little dangerous, perfect for the film's chaotic, high-octane atmosphere. Number 5, filming without permits. On the set of Mad Max, creativity wasn't just in the story, it was in the production itself. Without the funds to secure official road closure permits, the crew resorted to bold tactics. They would block off stretches of road themselves, film the scene as quickly as possible, and move on before drawing too much attention. This risky approach could have ended the shoot if authorities had intervened, but instead of shutting them down, local police became intrigued. Officers began to assist, officially closing roads to ensure scenes could be filmed safely. What began as a daring workaround turned into a surprising partnership. It saved the production valuable time and money while adding to the legend of a film that thrived on turning obstacles into opportunities. Number 6, ride or die cast. Authenticity wasn't just a goal for Mad Max. It was a necessity to bring the film's biker gang to life. The production hired real motorcycle club members instead of professional actors for many of the gang roles. These riders came with their own bikes. The gang rode their motorcycles from Sydney to the Melbourne filming locations, using the trip to rehearse their group presence on the road. By the time cameras rolled, their camaraderie and confidence as a gang felt completely natural because it was real. The sight of an actual tight-knit group of bikers tearing through the Australian landscape gave Mad Max an edge that still resonates decades later, making every gang scene pulse with authenticity. Number 7, Hollywood lens scrap. Some of the most striking visuals in Mad Max came from equipment that was far from top of the line. The production team acquired leftover anamorphic lenses from the Steve McQueen film The Getaway. These lenses had seen better days, and only one of them worked perfectly. The crew had to carefully plan each shot, making sure the usable lens was in place for the most important scenes. When the damaged lenses were used, they often created quirks in the image that gave the film a slightly warped, gritty look, perfect for its raw, post-apocalyptic tone. Those imperfect Hollywood cast-offs helped shape the look of Mad Max. Number 8, homemade editing suite. Post-production for Mad Max didn't happen in a fancy studio. It happened in George Miller's own home. With the budget too tight to rent professional editing facilities, Miller turned his kitchen into an editing room. Co-producer Byron Kennedy set up in the living room working on the sound design, while Miller pieced the film together frame by frame. It was a laborious process that stretched over a year, requiring patience, precision, and a lot of improvisation. The result of this homemade operation was a film that felt as raw and unpolished as the world it portrayed, but in the best way possible. Number 9, nightmarish score. The unsettling tone of Mad Max wasn't created by visuals alone. Composer Brian May, not to be confused with the Queen guitarist, crafted a jagged, tension-filled score that kept audiences on edge from the opening frame to the closing credits. May relied on sharp, eerie strings and sudden silences to amplify the film's sense of unease. This approach mirrored the unpredictable nature of the wasteland and its dangerous inhabitants. His work elevated the film's tension without overshadowing the gritty visuals, cementing the soundtrack as one of the most memorable elements of Mad Max. Number 10, unintentional duck and cover. When Mad Max was prepared for its US release, the distributors made a surprising choice. They replaced every line of dialogue with American accented dubbing. The concern was that American audiences might find the Australian voices too hard to understand, potentially hurting the film's appeal. While some fans later sought out the original track for its authenticity, the dubbed version became the default for many early US home video releases. The decision remains one of the more unusual localization efforts in cinema history, altering the tone of Mad Max for an entire audience. Number 11, Banned Abroad. The intense action and gritty atmosphere of Mad Max didn't just shock audiences, it led to full-on bans in some countries. In New Zealand, authorities halted the film's release due to uncomfortable similarities with a real-life gang incident, fearing it might glamorize dangerous behavior. Meanwhile, Sweden barred it entirely, citing what they viewed as excessive violence for local standards at the time. These bans lasted for years, turning Mad Max into something of a forbidden title in those regions. Ironically, the controversy only added to its allure with fans eager to track down copies through imports or underground screenings. This scarcity elevated the film's cult status, making it even more desirable to movie enthusiasts and genre collectors. Number 12. Supercharger Sham. One of the most striking visuals in Mad Max is Max's iconic Pursuit Special, complete with a massive supercharger protruding from the hood. To audiences, it looked like raw power ready to dominate the open road. In reality, the intimidating hardware was purely for show. The supercharger didn't function at all. The filmmakers added it as a visual enhancement, knowing the aggressive design would instantly set the car apart from anything else on screen. It was a clever case of style over substance, proving that the right aesthetic can carry as much impact as actual performance. Despite being a mechanical illusion, the Pursuit Special became one of the most recognizable vehicles in cinema history. Fans and car enthusiasts still marvel at its look, proving that sometimes movie magic is all about what you make people believe. Number 13. Swap roles after crash. Casting changes can happen for many reasons, but on Mad Max, one was the result of pure misfortune. Rosie Bailey had originally been cast as Jessie, Max's wife, and was already preparing for the role when tragedy struck. Just days before filming, she was involved in a serious motorcycle accident, leaving her unable to continue. Faced with the sudden gap in the cast, the filmmakers moved quickly to find a replacement. They chose Joanne Samuel, who brought a warm, relatable presence to Jessie that balanced the film's harsh tone. Her performance helped give Max's personal story more emotional depth, making the eventual tragedy in the plot hit even harder, proving that even last-minute changes can sometimes lead to iconic performances. Number 14. Stunt on broken leg. The danger on Mad Max wasn't just on screen. Some of it happened behind the scenes. Stunt coordinator Grant Page was no stranger to high-risk work, but just before filming began, he suffered a serious motorcycle accident. The injury left him with a broken leg, a condition that would sideline most performers for weeks, if not months. Instead of stepping back, Page pushed forward, taking on key stunts despite his limited mobility. Through careful planning, clever camera angles, and sheer determination, he managed to execute sequences that looked seamless to audiences. His work helped maintain the movie's high-energy pace, ensuring the action never lost its edge. This commitment to the craft became a testament to the grit of the Mad Max crew. Number 15. Biker speed thrill. High-octane action was the heartbeat of Mad Max, but some moments pushed adrenaline to the absolute limit. One of the film's most daring motorcycle stunts involved a rider accelerating to an incredible 180 kilometers per hour, all while being filmed. At those speeds, even the smallest mistake could have been catastrophic, especially on the open roads where the movie's chases were shot. To capture the sequence, the crew had to carefully coordinate camera positioning and timing, making sure the rider remained in frame without compromising safety. This was long before drones or digital effects, meaning every shot had to be executed in real time with no second chances if something went wrong. The result was a sequence that still impresses decades later. Number 16. Latex bulging eyes. One of the most memorable and unsettling moments in Mad Max comes during the villain toe cutter's demise. As his motorcycle hurtles toward a truck, the camera captures a split-second image of his eyes appearing to bulge from his head. In reality, this wasn't a dangerous physical effect, but a clever piece of prop work. The special effects team created a spring-loaded latex mask that could be triggered to mimic the exaggerated look. By combining this with precise camera timing and quick editing, they produced a shocking visual without risking the actor's safety. It was a practical effect born out of creativity and necessity, especially given the film's limited budget. The shot became one of the film's most talked about images, sticking in viewers' memories for years. It's a perfect example of how Mad Max relied on inventive, low-cost solutions to create big screen moments. Number 17, director's family van. Sometimes the most unassuming objects in a film have a surprising backstory. In Mad Max, the blue van smashed during the Knight Rider's chaotic rampage wasn't just another disposable stunt vehicle. It was the personal van of George Miller's father. To adapt it for the movie, the crew made a few modifications, giving it a slightly more cinematic look before sending it into harm's way. The destruction was filmed in true Mad Max fashion with no expensive replicas or safety doubles for the vehicle. Once the cameras rolled, there was no turning back. The van's fate was sealed. In the end, the smashed-up blue van became a small but memorable part of the movie's destruction-filled set pieces. Number 18, milk paint trick. On a film set where speed and efficiency were everything, even the smallest problem needed a creative solution. One unexpected challenge during the making of Mad Max came from scenes involving spilled paint. In many locations, real paint would have been a nightmare to clean, potentially damaging property and delaying the shoot. To avoid costly messes, the crew devised a clever workaround, replacing paint with milk in the cans. Number 19. Iconic Pursuit Special. Few movie cars are as instantly recognisable as Max's black Ford Falcon XBGGT, nicknamed the Pursuit Special. Its menacing silhouette, jet black paint, and oversized front nose cone turned it into a rolling symbol of the wasteland. But its story didn't end when filming wrapped on Mad Max. After production, the car was sold to a private owner, seemingly destined to fade into obscurity. However, its legend grew, and when the Road Warrior entered pre-production, the filmmakers tracked it down and bought it back. The Pursuit Special once again roared to life on screen, this time even more battered and battle-worn to reflect the harsher world of the sequel. Today, the car is a treasured piece of movie history. It resides in a Florida museum. Number 20. Most profitable film ever. When Mad Max hit theatres in 1979, few could have predicted it would go on to break a world record. Made for roughly $400,000, the film earned more than $100 million worldwide, giving it the highest profit-to-cost ratio of any movie at the time, a title it held in the Guinness World Records for decades. This staggering return on investment was the result of smart budgeting, global distribution, and word-of-mouth buzz. Audiences were captivated by the film's gritty action, fresh setting, and high-speed stunts, making it a surprise international hit. Its appeal stretched far beyond Australia, finding fans in the United States, Europe, and Asia. The financial success not only cemented George Miller's career, but also proved that small productions could achieve blockbuster-level impact. Number 21. last name from pathology. Even the smallest details in Mad Max carried thought and meaning, including the hero's unusual surname. Max Rokitansky's last name was inspired by Karl von Rokitansky, a 19th century Austrian pathologist renowned for developing a systematic method for conducting autopsies. George Miller, who worked as a doctor before becoming a filmmaker, likely came across Rokitansky's name during his medical training. Miller gave Max a distinctive, almost mythic sounding identity that still had roots in reality. The connection also hints at Max's role in the film, a figure moving through a world on the brink of collapse, witnessing destruction and loss, much like a pathologist examines the aftermath of tragedy. Number 22, casting an American, sort of. In the early stages of planning Mad Max, George Miller considered casting an American lead actor. The idea was purely strategic. Distributors believed an American face could boost the film's international appeal, especially in the lucrative US market. However, budget constraints and the challenge of attracting Hollywood talent to a small Australian production made the plan difficult to realise. As fate would have it, the filmmaker still ended up with a lead who fit the bill in an unexpected way. Mel Gibson, though raised in Australia, was actually born in Peekskill, New York. This gave him the American birthplace Miller had initially sought, while still being a local actor who understood the production's gritty, low-budget approach. Number 23, Stunt Safety Pioneers. The high-octane world of Mad Max might look reckless on screen, but behind the scenes, safety was a top priority. Stunt coordinator Ian Goddard led a team determined to push the limits of action filmmaking without putting lives in unnecessary danger. They worked with meticulous planning, precise rehearsals, and carefully calculated risks to ensure every crash, jump, and spin out was executed as safely as possible. What makes this remarkable is the film's extremely low budget. Many productions with far greater resources cut corners or accept higher risks for stunt performers. But Mad Max's crew insisted on professional standards. Number 24, influence on pop culture. The gritty, high-octane world of Mad Max didn't just redefine Australian cinema, it left a lasting mark on pop culture around the globe. Its raw, post-apocalyptic aesthetic inspired countless works in film, television, anime, and video games. The dystopian landscapes, spiked vehicles, and leather-clad survivors became visual shorthand for chaos and lawlessness in fictional worlds. Films like The Road Warrior cemented the style to Waterworld. In Japan, the Fist of the North Star anime took heavy cues from the wasteland look, while video game series like Borderlands embraced its mix of dark humour and brutal survival themes. Number 25, legacy of practicalism. While modern action films often rely heavily on CGI, Mad Max stands as a testament to the power of in-camera effects. Every crash, explosion, and hair-raising stunt was performed in the real world using practical setups rather than digital trickery. A stuntman even died in the making, and the motorbike crash footage was used in the film. This hands-on approach gave the movie an authentic grit that resonates with audiences even decades later. The film's practical style wasn't just an artistic choice, it was a necessity. With no budget for visual effects, George Miller and his crew used ingenuity to stage stunts that looked dangerous yet were carefully planned. Cars were modified for maximum visual impact, camera rigs were improvised from scrap, and timing was everything. This dedication to authenticity has aged beautifully. Today, Mad Max is still studied by filmmakers and stunt coordinators who want to capture the raw energy of physical action. Its influence proves that creativity and careful craftsmanship can outshine the flashiest computer-generated spectacle. From illegal road closures to beer-paid extras, Mad Max turned pure chaos into cinematic gold. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like icon and subscribe for more film trivia. And tell us in the comments which Mad Max moment you loved the best.